Occupation life. Life for those living in occupied countries during World War II varies significantly depending on factors such as the duration of the occupation, the policies of the occupying forces, the level of resistance and individual experiences. However, there were common themes and challenges faced by civilians in occupied territories under German control. Occupied populations often faced strict control and repression by German authorities and collaborating governments. Civil liberties were restricted, freedom of speech was curtailed, and individuals were subjected to surveillance, censorship, and arbitrary arrests. Resistant activities were met with harsh reprisals, including executions, deportations, and forced labour. Many civilians in occupied countries were forced to work for the German war effort, either through conscription, labour camps, or requisited labour. Forced labourers were often subjected to harsh conditions, long hours and inadequate food and shelter. The exploitation of local labour and resources contributed to the German war machine, but imposed heavy burdens on the civilian population. The occupation led to food shortages, rationing and scarcity of essential goods in many countries. German authorities prioritised supplies for their own troops and civilians, leading to deprivation and hunger among the local population. Rationing cards, food queues and black market activities became common features of daily life. Occupied populations faced difficult choices between resistance to the occupation and collaboration with German authorities. Resistant movements, partisan groups, and underground activities emerged to oppose the occupiers through sabotage, espionage, and acts of defiance. Collaboration with the Germans, whether out of coercion, opportunism, or ideological alignment, also occurred in some occupied territories. The Nazi regime implemented policies of persecution and discrimination against targeted groups, including Jewish people, Roma, homosexuals, political dissidents, and others. Occupied populations witnessed the deportations, arrests, and extermination of the individuals deemed undesirable by the Nazis, leading to fear, trauma, and loss within communities. German authorities sought to impose their ideology and cultural norms on occupied countries through censorship, propaganda, and cultural suppression. Books were banned, art was confiscated, and media outlets were controlled to promote Nazi propaganda and suppress dissenting voices. The occupation often involved deportations, forced relocations, and population transfers to facilitate German control and establish racial hierarchies. Civilians were displaced, communities uprooted, and families were separated as a result of German policies of ethnic cleansing and resettlement. Life in the occupied countries was characterised by fear, uncertainty and insecurity as civilians navigated the challenges of living under foreign occupation. Daily routines were disrupted, homes were requisited and basic freedoms restricted, leading to a pervasive sense of vulnerability and anxiety. Overall, life for those living in occupied countries during World War II was marked by hardship, resistance, collaboration and survival in the face of adversity. The experience of the civilians in occupied territories varied, reflecting the complex dynamics of war, occupation and human resilience in a time of crisis.